Conventional wisdom is clear. Teamwork, collaboration and diversity lead to better learning and decision making. Take, for example, Australia's favourite unicorn firm, Atlassian. Its core mission is to unleash the potential in the team. It makes sense to bring together diverse members of a team so they can challenge each other and overcome the limits of each of the individuals within the team. So for your average person, teamwork works. In teams, we learn best when we are together. At least that's the conventional wisdom. But is this always the case? Does it always make sense to put people into teams? Do some people learn best when they're apart? Perhaps some more talented people learn best on their own. And why is it these people who challenge the status quo? For example, Greta Thunberg, perhaps the world's most foremost environmental activist of our time. By the age of 16, she's already been nominated for a Nobel Prize. She's fought top politicians and sparked a protest movement comprising of millions worldwide. She's independent. She sees the world differently. And she's a brilliant, amazing and exhilarating speaker. She doesn't do negotiation. Greta is Greta. Greta does not do teams. And Steve Jobs, when Apple was on its knees, he was brought in to completely turn Apple around and turn it into the behemoth worth billions that it is today. At the time, though, he was regarded as a troublemaker, a round peg in a square hole. He saw things at Apple differently to other people at Apple. He didn't fit in. He had no respect for the status quo. Steve also did not do teams. So what is it about Greta and Steve? Well, they change things. They're the kind of people who push the human race forward. They're crazy, they're brilliant, and they change the world. And perhaps you don't do teams. Perhaps you find teams boring, slow, and they have no vision. Perhaps you think, it's better if I do it myself. I can get the job done in 1/10 of the time. And it'll actually come up with a better solution if I do it myself. You see, the problem is that teams design a camel when they actually aim to design a horse. The learnings and outcomes can be good, but at the end of the day, the horse and the camel are not the same. Their vision is wrong. It seems that the more people that go into a team, sometimes the slower and the more stupid the outcomes are. Worse still, you might be a bit like me, and during team meetings your eyes glaze over and your mind wanders, such that you don't really give as much as you can to the team. If all this is the case, then perhaps you are not a team player. Perhaps you put the in conventional. You might be a maverick like Greta and Steve. My name is Chris Jackson and I'm a professor of business psychology at UNSW, and I've been researching the way people are different from each other for the last 30 years. When I first started thinking about maverickism, it seemed to me that teamwork might bring untalented people up and bring talented people down. And I've been doing experimental and field work across multiple organisations to actually determine if this is the case. And what I found is that mavericks provide hope, direction and growth, whereas teams provide mediocrity and watered down opportunities. So, is it mavericks to the rescue? Well, perhaps. Certainly, although talented mavericks are eccentric and conventional, they're risk takers and disruptive, they're also very success and goal oriented. And they're great at decision making and going against the status quo. Whereas in contrast, lower mavericks are steady, they're team players and they're very conventional. Consider, for example, Gina Rinehart. She's perhaps Australia's most successful entrepreneur. She's worth at least 16 billion. As chair of Hancock Prospecting, she exploits opportunities in mining and cattle in rural Australia, and she's also brought much needed wealth to rural Australia. She's done it through her determination, passion and vision. She has been dogmatic in the face of family disputes and sometimes the valid arguments of environmentalists. She's the kind of person who learns through being a part. She leads teams, she isn't actually a team member. Gina is Gina. Gina Rinehart does not do teams. So my research fills a gap that goes against the dogma that teamwork is always right. What I've done is develop an assessment tool of maverickism. I started off thinking about the overall idea of what maverickism was, and then I've split it up into different domains. Those domains being spirited, enthusiastic, individualistic, socially gifted and reflective. And this has provided me with an opportunity to understand exactly what makes Mavericks tick. So it seems that what's essentially important about Greta Thunberg is that she's an unstoppable 16-year-old force. She forges ahead. She's a powerhouse of energy and commitment. Whereas Steve Jobs, he epitomizes the wisdom, smartness, and talent that is intrinsic to being a maverick. And Gina Rinehart, she epitomizes the entrepreneur, the lean and hungry, growth mindset-oriented person who puts effort and determination into everything that she does. All of these people are leaders. They're independent, they don't fit in, but they make things happen and they're transformational such that they do actually change large aspects of the world. So all this sounds wonderful. Is it that mavericks are that good? Well, perhaps not. Actually, mavericks have a problem because sometimes when they go against the herd is right. Every speech on individualism should really talk about Donald Trump, perhaps the most well-known leader of the free world of all time. You might agree with him, you might glorify him, but many smart people also vilify him. Whilst you can't ignore him, those smart people actually say he's failed to live up to his boasts. He's lied so much and he's failed to make America great again. So perhaps this gives us a clue as to what's wrong with mavericks. Sometimes they don't learn best and they don't work best when they're alone. You see, the thing is, mavericks can be narcissists. They love glory, they love themselves, and they crave attention. So that when they aim for the sky, and they've alienated people, and they have no support, what they do is their dream comes too big, and they reach upwards, but actually they implode and they come crashing to the ground. And as I found to my detriment, sometimes mavericks within your team can be a management curse. They're difficult to manage, they don't do what they're asked, and they provide no support to other team members. To overcome this, what I've decided is that mavericks need to be reflective. They need to have insight, they need to learn, and this gives them the opportunity to have integrity and ethics, which leads them to have important social impact on the world. Australia needs these kind of effective mavericks. They don't need the vain and glory-seeking narcissist mavericks. So if you are a talented maverick with ethics, embrace your maverickism. And perhaps you should consider if teams are really the right thing to always do within your organisation. Perhaps it stifles your best people. It seems that teamwork does not always make the dream work. What I hope is that this talk today has provided you with an opportunity to start a conversation that might enable you to embrace your inner maverickism, or perhaps the mavericks within your team.